Rec- So good morning and good evening. Welcome to this week's Circle of Harmony. And in the last 2 weeks, we have been basically taking up, we have taken up the topic of sinner and sin. That how we must look at the sin and not the sinner, and how challenging it is to not look at the sinner and the sin, because it appears that, for me, sinner is everything there is. Sin is mostly secondary, surprisingly. And this week I thought that, sin, sin, sinner, sinner, again, we are in a discussion, we are in a loop, and how for true progress, one has to transcend both the sinner and the sin and see, they are both, if I'm looking at the sin, if I'm looking at the sinner, if there's any learning, I take that. But my journey is to move on. And, this was basically inspired by yesterday's session in Friday Study Circle, where we read the passages of blaming oneself, of, not allowing despair to come in our beings, where Mother very beautifully said, right, that when I'm blaming myself, it's not serving a purpose. Like I should see where I'm wrong, and then I have to move on. I have to see how to progress. Because sadly, what we do is first we do things which are not okay. Then, when we realize we have done things that are not okay, we then brood over the things we have done or others have done. And that just keeps on and on and on. But to break that loop, one thing is okay, sitting and saying that, oh, what have I done? What have I done? But to move beyond that is the purpose, is like, okay, I've learned what next? I've learned what next? And usually that's not what happens. We just sit on it that, oh my God, ye mere saath ho gaya, what have I done? What have the other done? And in doing that, we kind of miss the point, we miss the lesson. And then again, the same things in different faces, in different looking situations, they keep happening to me because I did not look at the lesson. And that has been kind of a theme this week. And in the despair passage, Mother had spoken about, how when you are being sad, know that you're being insincere. We don't have to allow despair in our lives because that just takes us down. And I would also want to say that, Chetna, what you said in the last session in the closing was very strong, very beautiful. And I hope that we can all learn from that. And you yourself, it's easy to say things, and yet to fully understand what one has said also takes a lot of grace. So may that manifest more and more in your life and to anybody who listened to that. So thank you for sharing it so beautifully. So before we begin, anybody would like to say anything? So the topic again is moving beyond the sin and the sinner. Yes.
So, Taru, can you repeat what Chetna said in the closing thing? I'm not able to exactly point out.
Were you there?
Yeah, I think
Last
Chetna
time?
said about, yeah,
Okay.
about looking behind behind the sinner. I mean, like if there's a war, so why the war? And is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'll play it. It was very beautiful. I
Mm-hmm.
will
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
unless Chetna wants to repeat it, she unmuted. Chetna, you tell me, should I just repeat that?
Thank you so much, Taru, for actually holding this space and bringing up this point. And even everybody, like, I feel this space is very warm and non judgmental. That's why I'm able to open up. So, I just want to share that even I was reflecting on, what came out from my mouth. And as you said, it's very easy to say these things, but are we really practicing it in real life? Am I really applying it? And how much I have to still apply? I mean, how much is the gap that I need to? So I was reflecting on that, yes. And the gist of what I understood from that and took back as the lesson for life is that even behind war is hatred, right? So for me, what I took back is that how much in my daily life am I contributing in consciousness? What state of consciousness am I in each activity I am doing? uh, am I in the consciousness of hatred, judgment, or am I in consciousness of love for each action that I'm doing, each interaction? So that is what I took back. Yes. As like, we cannot change political situations and circumstances, but we can change how I am in my daily life. Am I like even behind war? For me, what was there was the root was forgetfulness that we are all one. So the root was basically thinking somebody is different on the basis of caste, color, religion, whatever. So am I in daily life, even how am I treating people? Am I treating them as one, or am I treating them, am I being judgmental to them? So am I operating from the consciousness of hatred, or am I jealousy or whatever, or am I operating from love? That is what I have to uh, analyze in each situation. That is what yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chetna. Thank you for that. So, you know what you said, that how much am I contributing to hatred? To the things that I say I despise. If I see dispute, I don't like it. If I see someone shouting at someone, I don't like it. If I see chaos, I don't like it. If I see division, I don't like it. If I see divisibility, discrimination, I don't like it. And yet, I don't see where I am. So I think this question to self and this purification of self, that at least the things that I don't like, let me try to be less and less and less and less of that. If I don't like hatred, if I like love, let me be love. That with my movements, उसने क्या कर दिया, ये क्या हो गया, ऐसे कैसे कर दिया, ये तो उधर ही जाएगा, ये तो खराब ही होगा. These so many thoughts that visit me, so many forces that visit me, that take me astray. I think it's time now That if we are realizing this, that what is happening, I can now push them aside and stop listening to them so that they can lose their life force that I give them. Any rumor I hear, any gossip I hear, anything negative about somebody, I can say, I'm saying, I'm hearing. Let me not be part of that. We all make mistakes. None of us want to make mistakes. And from where we are standing, we are always doing the right thing, and so is the other. But just like I love myself, I kind of know that I don't intentionally want to harm. So the other too does not intentionally want to harm. And I forgive myself a lot of times, and a lot of times I don't. But again, doing the same, extending the same for others, that that's like I forgive them, I give myself, okay, I will not do that again. Let me do that all around if there is a position of forgiveness, and we'll delve more into it. So just because it's all about myself, it's all about making myself less. You know how we often talk about that one drop, let me be one drop of poison less. And that helps in, although it appears, okay, if there's an ocean and there's one drop of poison, what would it do? But the ripple effects that it creates, anytime I'm able to, now that I know, if I know, to stop myself from indulging in things that bring my consciousness down, the consciousness of others down, the consciousness of earth down. So knowing that it's not a small thought that, oh, I thought of it, oh, somebody was saying, to, 2 minute मैंने सुन ही लिया इसमें क्या, what did I do, right? What mistake did I do if I were just entertaining a thought of hatred or division? But it is a mistake. It impurifies my consciousness and impurifies the ambience, the atmosphere. It might sound I'm making it much bigger than it is, but I think it's bigger than what I am. So if I do want honesty, sincerity, purity, these are the movements that I have to be conscious of, as Chetna very beautifully explained again. And I have to consciously now stop indulging, because indulging has become my pattern. Indulging in these thoughts, in these beliefs, I have to stand against myself and rise above the sin, the sinner. And yeah. So before we move into that more intimately, the discussion that we had about, how Jagan was talking about like a non-acceptance or a bit of anger, that how those two parties could be said, two sentences can be said in the same thing, comparing a terrorist with a freedom fighter and all, and how. So there was this video I had shown some time back from Thai. It was about, there was this beautiful story of a pirate, that how what all he did, and yet how can we forgive him? How we cannot be angry. So I thought I'll play that. It's not directly relevant, and yet based on where we went last time, it would show light. So before I share that, if there's any comment, anything, we can. Yeah, Jagat? Yeah.
Yes, good morning all. You know what, I actually listened to the recording that you shared of the last session, and I thought, let's listen to what Chetna said in the end, because I was in such a flux that I couldn't hear a lot. I was in my own element of comparison, and for me, what I said is, I believe in what I said. But the thing is, what Chetna said in the end, and even in the beginning, uh, I have to say that I'm a very I I don't listen attentively. I miss a lot of things when someone talks, and that's what happened. I observed that that's what happened last time as well. Chetna said a few things that were very important, and the last one was like extremely fantastic the way she expressed it, and so I had to sit down and anyway I had to listen. And then I found that how beautiful it is that to not look at the sinner but to look at the sin. And now the question lies in how do I practice it. So for now, what I'll do is I'll listen. I'll see that video that you wanted to share, and then I have a few questions. I'm hoping I can discuss with all.
Okay. So I'll play everything. Yeah, let me know if you can hear it.
In the 70s, one day I got very angry because I received a letter from a refugee camp in Thailand that a 11-year-old girl after was raped by separate, and his father tried to intervene to protect him, and then the separate threw him into the ocean. And during the 70s, news like that come every day. We were trying to help both people. Many of them stay in refugee camps in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Indonesia. You get angry at the separate who threw the who rape the 11-year-old, and after being raped, after having seen her father drown, and she also jumped into the ocean to get drowned. You get angry at the pirate. You get angry to the point that you cannot eat, and you know that you have to do something in order to transform your anger. Otherwise, you cannot eat, you cannot sleep, you cannot continue to help people. So I went for walking meditation to calm myself down. And that night during sitting meditation, I saw the pirate. And that is the practice of visualization. If you are born in a very poor fishing family, if your father has not had any chance to go to school, your mother also, and then you have been poor for many generations, and you have never got a chance to get out of that chronic situation of chronic poverty. And when you are 13, your father asks you to go with him to the sea, and you have to do very hard work. And yet, when your father died, you continue his career as a fisherman. But you cannot do better than him. you're still in chronic poverty. And one day another fisherman said, well, the boat people, when they flee the country, they always bring with them some valuable gold and diamonds and things like that, because they left the country and they want to start a new life in another country. So if we go out just one way, one time, we can get enough in order to get out of this chronic situation of chronic poverty. And many young men became pirates because of that. In the high sea, there was no policeman. And you see young girls, and you know that you will not be punished. So the young fishermen just did like other fishermen. They rope, they rape. If you are on the boat, what can you do? If you try to intervene, they will throw you into the ocean. And if you have a gun, what would you do? Of course, you will shoot the sea pirate. That sea pirate might be just 21 years old or 22. And I saw that in my meditation. Suppose I was born in the coast, along the coastline of Thailand 24 years ago, into a family like his. My father was very poor, my mother did not have any education. I was raised like that. No one, I did not go to, I have no chance to go to school. I became a young poor fisherman. Nobody has taught me to love, to be responsible. Nobody has helped me to get out of my situation of chronic poverty. And another fisherman came to me and persuaded me to go out in order to meet the boat people, in order to take the gold, to take the diamonds. And there I went. And I would have done exactly what the young parent have done, because I have had no education. I did not know how to love, to be responsible, so I did exactly what he did. And if you shoot me, I die. I simply die, because no one has helped me in my 21 years of life. So when I meditated, at that point, I identified myself with the poor fisherman. I saw him as a victim of society. It's really, no one has tried to help him, his family. No one has tried to educate him, to teach him how to be responsible, to love. And when I saw that, my anger just evaporated, and suddenly I have a lot of compassion directed to the fisherman, to the sea pirate. Meditation is like that. Meditation is to use the image of reality in order to help you to be awake, to be reasonable. You should know that anger is not good to your health, and you are not good to the health of the people around you and the society, but that is not enough. That is the first bell of mindfulness. And you have to practice. We have to know how to practice, to make use of the teaching, the images, the insight, the experience you have got in order to embrace that anger and transform it. In our body there are lymphocytes, the immune system. Every time there is a foreign body penetrating into our system, they rush, they come and they just embrace and digest that foreign body and transform it into protein and other things. We should have a spiritual immune system in us. We should have macrophage, leukocyte, we should be able to use them in order to protect us. Every time anger or fear manifests, we should call on these elements to come, to surround, to embrace that, not to let it do harm to our life, to our body, to our mind. The practice is very much the same as the practice of the immune system.
Yeah, I will share the video link. If you want to watch the full, you can. So it's just about that how he was personally able to transform his anger into realization that, like we were saying, that why is so much sin allowing to be happen? Why are we like that? Why is there so much hatred and poverty and distinctions, distribution of wealth is so unfair and not to. I mean, I know it's difficult when you hear these things and it again makes you angry. But like he was saying that when he got so angry, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, and he couldn't help. So again, I can be angry and I can say that's absolutely unacceptable, and or I can just get more strength and help more, so that less and less more hatred events and situations need to happen if I can do anything about it in my own capacity, whatever that means. So this creating of the spiritual immune system, that if something is coming, which is creating hatred, anger, fear, how he said that how one can surround it, one can encapsule it and break it. Okay, this is going there, this is going there, this is going there, so that there's no attack, that big attack to which I have to react and not really help in that situation. Yeah, I'll stop. So inviting reflections, if any. I know it's hard, but the purpose was to see I can even move beyond this. And he resolved his anger with his practice. So this thing about disentangling ourselves, this, just stepping back, that yes, somebody did wrong, but why is there this need to do wrong and all that really helps. And we have to make sense of our lives, like just forgetting this story, this example, this narrative. The small things of our everyday life of the past, of the present, of the future that I hold on to and sit and reflect and think and create stories around. While I am busy doing that, life is passing me by. And coming back to our topic, I think that is one of the biggest sins we could be doing, because we are not moving towards any goal, any progress. We are just like, how mother says, holding a cup and with a spoon churning water. Nothing is happening. There's just activity which is leading us. Yeah, anything, please?
Yes. Had to listen to the entire video to understand. In the middle, I was again going into question answers, but he did explain everything to the core. One thing is, when he, in the end, when he was talking about patience, one thing I notice is when, for example, this is only an example I'll give, that when someone, when someone says something to my mother, something to my mother, without, he doesn't know like what's going on in her life, and he does something, he says something, her brother, let's say, her brother says something, and it was hurtful. I had this urge, especially when I was in front of them. I was in that, in that environment with them. I had this urge of, hurting this person badly. And a similar situation when it happens when I'm here, 13,000 kilometers away. Still have this urge, but I'm sort of helpless that I go into thinking, why did he do it? I wouldn't ask this question if I was there. I would just react to it. And now that I'm helpless, I cannot really go right away. The anger is, is like I really don't have a word to put, describe it, but I no longer feel angry when I start thinking about it. 2 months passed, I'm angry. 3 months passed, angry. 4 months, 2 years, I'm no longer angry. And now, like last time, once you said, who, like, we don't know what kind of a childhood he had, what kind of a experience he had, or what. So the question I wanted to ask is, ma'am, let's say I am in a situation where someone hurts or someone kills someone I really love. Although I really want to react and do hurt this person, how can I just say that, let's not talk right now, let's not do anything right now, let's just walk back, sit quietly, and think about it? Because the people who hurt, it's not necessary that they always live with us. Like there may be a passerby who just just shoots my loved one and walks away, and there's a chance that I will not see him at all my entire life. So either I do something about it right now, or I don't do anything about it. So at that point of time, how can I go back, sit quietly, and then, like, like Thich Nhat Hanh, I guess I'm spelling his name correctly, pronouncing, think that, what kind of a situation, like imagine myself in his shoes and go through the entire story. What level is it even possible, ma'am, to have that level of patience for a regular person?
Yeah, Jagan, I was reading something yesterday which I wasn't planning to take up, but maybe that would shed some light. So here, the highlighted part, I think, would be that, but maybe we can just take this up. So if there's anybody who's just willing to read just this much, all right.
I can read it. To hate the sinner is the worst sin, for it is hating God. Yet he who commits its glories in his superior virtue. I'll just read that one more time. To hate the sinner is the worst sin, for it is hating God. Yet he who commits it glories in his superior virtue. When we enter into a certain state of consciousness, we see clearly that we are capable of anything, and that in fact there is not a single sin that is not potentially our sin. Is this impression correct? And yet we revolt against and feel an aversion for certain things. There is always something somewhere which we cannot accept. Why? What is the true attitude? The effective attitude in face of evil. Should I continue?
That is the background, right? That how do we face evil, right? That's basically what I would say you two were saying, right? How do I face evil? यहाँ पे where it says that there is not a single sin that is not our sin. Like right now, when I'm sitting and I'm judging that he did wrong, I did wrong. Firstly, I'm saying that I am all good and mighty and virtuous, and this he created this sin, right? Here, if you read this, to hate the sinner is the worst sin, for it is hating God. Yet who commits it, like one who's hating the sinner, it glories in a superior virtue. He feels he is doing something very virtuous by hating, right? And yet there is not a single sin that is not our sin. That if somebody has done something out of hatred, have I not hatred in me? Like when we were listening to this story that he was saying, did we not feel hatred towards the pirate? We did. You have this experience when for some reason or other, depending on the case, you come into contact with the universal state of consciousness, not in its limited essence, but on the level of matter. There is an atomic consciousness, there is a purely material consciousness, and there is even more a general psychological consciousness. That how, they're just describing the different parts of consciousness. So here Mother is saying that when by going within, by a kind of withdrawal from the ego, like right now, who's feeling the hatred, who's judging the sin is the ego, right? But if we are able to go within, by a withdrawal from the ego, you come into contact with the zone of consciousness. We will simply say the collective human psychological consciousness. When you come into contact with that, through this identification, naturally, you feel or see or know that you are capable of any human movement anywhere. Today, if you are feeling so angry at something, just like I said, that when he could visualize it within his meditation, when he became that pirate, he realized that he too would be doing the same thing in his shoes. To even accept that is a very big thing, because our consciousness, our righteousness, our pride would not allow us to even agree to that. And here again, Mother is saying the same thing, that if we are able to withdraw ourselves from our ego selves and touch the human's consciousness, psychological consciousness, we will see that I am capable of any human movement anywhere. It is to some extent a truth consciousness, this egoistic sense of what belongs and does not belong to you, of what you can do and cannot do, disappears at that time. You become aware that the fundamental structure of the human consciousness is such that any human being is capable of doing anything at all. तो अगर यहाँ पे मैं बोलूं, if I say here that no, I won't do that. So here it's being said, no, that's not true, right? So any human being is capable of doing anything. So it is probable, it is even certain that until you're yourself completely transformed, these movements of disgust and revolt are needed so that you can do in yourself what has to be done to shut the door. For after all the problem, or after all, the problem is not to allow them to manifest themselves. If I'm hating the sin, what am I doing? I'm hating. So that is adding to the sin. So first, let me make myself so strong that I can shut the door to that hatred and then see, okay, how do I stop this? How do I help? If somebody killed somebody, I go and kill them, or I kill them right then. How does that help? Or just it helps my ego, right? Because see, I took revenge. But how has that helped? And then probably somebody from their family again might come and kill somebody from how the cycle just continues. And because I know this, maybe I can stop and see, okay, not react, but think what to do. In other aphorisms, Sri Aurobindo says, I no longer remember his exact word mother is saying, but he said, sin is merely something which is not in its right place. In this perpetual becoming, nothing ever repeats itself, and there are things that disappear so as to speak into the past. And when their disappearance becomes necessary, these things become for a very limited consciousness bad and repulsive. And we revolt against them because their time is over. Okay? If I see something in me which I had done in the past, but now I don't identify with them because their time over me, their rule over me is over. But now if I sit on my high horse and say, see, I don't do it, see what they are doing. So then I have forgotten that I too was there. I too have killed. Could be just ants, could be just, I don't know, people here do hunting, we do fishing, for example. Not equating these things, but yet I too am there who has done harm, who has taken lives. We're connecting with that. How does that happen? So we revolt against them because their time is over. But if we had the overall view, if we could contain within ourselves the past, the present, and future all at once, it's very tough, right? If you're able to see the past, present, and future all at once, as it is somewhere above, we would see the relativity of these things and that it is above all the progressive force of evolution that gives us the will to reject, and that wherever they are in their right place, they are quite acceptable. So for a fisherman, fishing is not killing, it's acceptable. But maybe say for me, I could say, oh, they are killing. That's how everything, even this killing is so relative. It's mind-boggling how it can happen. So again, if I feel I am above something, or I won't do it. So that's also not me. It's a progressive force of evolution that gives us the will to reject. But for those who are not able to reject yet, the same things are acceptable as they were acceptable to me before. Maybe not in this birth, maybe in the past birth. But I've done all this, and even today I'm capable of doing these things. So this goes on and on. I don't know how relevant we are finding this. I can take it further, or we can go back to the main topic you suggest. This is also, see, very nice that you reach a state of consciousness, this highlighted part, where you look at everything with a smile of total certitude that everything is as should be. So see, we are talking about disgust, revolt, anger, and here it is being said that all these movements of violence are necessarily movements of ignorance and limitation. But when I'm feeling disgusted, I feel superior. When I revolt, I feel superior. When I feel angry, I feel superior. And yet, these are movements of ignorance and limitation with all the weaknesses that limitation represents. So, this is not saying we should not do all these things. But again, how Thai said that how do we convert it? How do we make that change? How do we not just remain at disgust, revolt, and anger? Yeah, and the solution is very tough. It is said that therefore there is only one solution to unite ourselves by aspiration, concentration, interiorization, and identification with the Supreme Will. And that is both omnipotence and perfect freedom at the same time. That may my will be united with thee, and aspiring, concentrating, everything is towards the Supreme Will. So there was more in the article, but I think this is enough for this. But that was helpful in any way, or it was a good thing.
Ma'am, growing up, I find that these serials I would watch about Ramayana, Mahabharata. Um, Honestly, I wanted to watch Tom and Jerry. My father had forced me into watching this in the morning. Always the conclusion was that Ram killed Ravan because he did sin. Mahishashur Mardini. She killed Mahishashur, Durga Ma. And then again, Prahlad story. And there are so many stories. So I grew up thinking that, the wrongdoer must be punished. The wrongdoer must be. I never understood that. Am I really in that state of consciousness of the punisher? Am I really the Ram? Am I really I am not. I'm nowhere even close. I'm just a human being. So I shouldn't be the one even thinking about punishing. It's something for the higher to take care of. If it is really that case, the case. That being said, while I understand what is being said by Thich Nhat Hanh, the video we saw, and all these things, I had the new question in my mind just about now that, you know, let's say I by grace, I reach that consciousness where I'm able to, go through his life pattern and, kind of forgive him for, or forgive the sinner, not the sin. And now I'm at peace. But what if this pirate is, he's free, he's just free, and what if he goes on to repeat it with 100 other people? So it's now I can say it's none of my business, I'm at peace. But isn't it also like, but anyway, but who will then stop this? How many more 11-year-olds will be, sacrificed in this process? Like, now everyone is, let's say everyone is able to forgive the sinner, and only, understand the sin. But what about the sinner is still being, used as an instrument by the sin to, to commit such heinous crimes more and more? How can I not think about it? Please share some light, shed some light.
Yeah, Juan wants to share.
No, I believe there are two different things. We should respond to the law in a natural way. We have a social law that you know, a criminal, it should be imprisoned. We should take care as a society for these matters. I think this forgiveness is meant to be something internal and not stop us from doing the right thing and preventing this to happen in our societies. I read a book, a wonderful book of an African woman called Immaculée Ilibagiza. He survived a Holocaust in Rwanda massacre, and after it happened, like 1 million people died from one caste, murdered by another caste, and she was a survivor, and she understood she had to undergo a process inside herself of forgiveness of the killers of her own family. The book is so powerful, and she also she went after the Holocaust. She went to the jails. He confronted the very person who or one of the very person who killed her family, and she forgave him. She truly felt something like what Thich Nhat Hanh is telling here, and also Tara said, like, probably it's good to think that we are lucky to have another consciousness, but if we have lived in another environment, we had another experiences in life, we could be that other person, right? Any one of us could be anyone. Like, really, this is true. So she narrates this. She says she looked in the eyes of the killers of her family, and she could understand, and she forgave him. Nevertheless, the person was almost dead inside, and he spent the rest of his life in prison, and it's okay that justice is done for our society to maintain some order. But I think there are two different things. Like, it's okay to have a law, it's okay to prevent these things to happen, but also to make an internal journey into forgiveness and understanding.
Yeah, thank you. I also read this book, this Schindler's List, this week, and the horrors in that book. I mean, they were pretty amazing, that what we as humans are capable of. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, yeah. So, Jagan, to answer your question a little bit, you spoke about the Ram and the Ravan, right? So I would say that, okay, I too will slay the Ravan, right? And you said you realize you are not in that thing. But what we do is that because I know I can't slay the Ravan, what I could maximum do is maybe go and slap him. Or what I would do is I would just sit and say, oh my God, he's so mean, he's so selfish, he's acting so weirdly, he's full of hatred. And I just comment, I reject, I disapprove, I send hatred and my disapproval in that ambience, right? So that is not helping anyone. So right in how Thai said that I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, so I couldn't help. So this is not about one pirate, right? He said that how families upon families, he realized were doing that. Those poor fishermen families were becoming pirates. So what in this situation, what needs to be done? Maybe education could be provided to their children, right? So right now, like Juan said, that the law would take care if they could find the pirate of that ship. And yet, what can I do? What say maybe Thai had an organization which he created, and that organization maybe may have started some education centers in those areas, right? So that's his way of helping that no new pirates like that are born. That you give them education so they have something other to do than fishing and then going in for pirating, right? So that is helping. But my rage, my anger, my disapproval, my hatred, it just burns me. It pollutes my environment. And then whoever I'm talking to, one bad thing I hear, whoever I talk to, I talk about that. So as a universe, there's more hatred. There is more, at least the spread, the feel of it is more. You know, both, I think, I don't know who I've heard it, but at least I've heard from Jetson Mala that there is more good in the world than bad, hands down. There are more good people in the world than bad people, but yet we always hear about the bad. Always hear about the bad. Why? Because I am interested in the bad, right? I buy the newspaper when I hear that this happened, that happened. So it's just that that's what's being spread. So if today, imagine last week or in my lifetimes, in my past, say this birth, if I've had encountered with 10 people, maybe 5 of them were good, 5 of them were bad. Or maybe 8 of them were bad, 2 of them were good, maybe, right? So if I could spread what the 2 people who loved me did, I will be spreading more love. Right? But if I brood on what was done bad to me, I would spread more despair, more tragedy in and around me. 2 that are one, right? In the prayer that we read last and yesterday again, we discussed the same thing. That whatever I'm doing in me, I'm spreading outside. Whatever is outside, I'm taking it in. 2 that are one. So we must focus at what am I spreading? What am I being? How is my anger helping? So again, you know, what Chetna, how we started, that what is my role in this universe, in this world? Am I the beacon of peace, of purity, or I too? And just because somebody hated, I hate, that's not, that is how we mostly live. But that's not how I would like to live honestly, right? If given. Yeah, if there's anything.
It's like, yes, it's like either I go about punishing and also putting myself in this lack of peacefulness, or either I work towards the root cause and do something at the root cause, like you said, like providing education to the poor fishermen, so another such pirate does not come up. So yeah, there are two things, and I think, like in the beginning when you said saying is easy, uh, versus, so I'm just praying that that mindset also works practically, can put it to practice, right?
No, there were more things I had seen in the incarnate, but small one-liners. Maybe we can just go through them. They would shed a little bit more light on the topics. and about sin so that we can cover it. So if anybody is willing, if they can just read it for us, and then we'll take the next one. Okay, I will read. It says that the sense of sin was necessary in order that man might become disgusted with his own imperfections. It was God's corrective for egoism. But man's egoism meets God's device by being very dully alive to its own sins and very keenly alive to the sins of others. It was made so that I could look at my own sins and purify myself, but using the same tool because I am so clever. I dull myself to my own sins, but I am very keenly alive to the sins of others. That is one. Here, this is the second one I wanted to share. So long as man prides himself on his virtue, that I am so virtuous, the Supreme Lord will make him fall into sin to teach him the necessity of modesty. I'll repeat that. So long as man prides himself on his virtue, the Supreme Lord will make him fall into sin to teach him the necessity of modesty, because pride in itself is a sin. So I'll be thrown into such things so that I know that modesty is very important. Okay, so the next one. Yeah, this one was nice, that for the Lord, sin does not exist. All defect can be effaced. Effaced is fully erased by sincere aspiration and by transformation. That if you feel you have committed a sin, if you feel you have done a mistake, if you sincerely aspire that you don't want to do that again, if you want to be transformed and never do it. So, the Lord is not there wanting to say that, no, but you have sinned, you have sinned. Mother, again, I think said it yesterday too. She says, no, not yesterday, but the quote is, the teaching is that Mother says that I never look at your mistakes. I just look at your potential, right? So here I am approaching life with a bag of sins or errors I have done. And she's like, "Arey, arey, isko to bahar rakha, just go keep these mistakes, these baggages outside. I don't care what you have done so far. Now where you are, what your possibility is, what your potential is, that is what I see. And that's why she's able to love and accept us, otherwise there's no scope. So for the Lord, sin does not exist. And this is also a very popular one. A mistake recognized is a mistake pardoned. And here he says, before going to sleep every night, we must pray that the mistakes we may have committed during the day should not be repeated in future. I know people who pray that they ask for forgiveness for the mistakes they have created, but that's just half of the battle won. But committing during, like, praying that it should not be repeated is the key, so that it can be corrected. Yeah, anything by... Yeah, this is the last one. I think we'll just take that. If anybody wants to read it, it's slightly a bigger one. And then we can just take reflections and go from there. Yeah, I'll see.
So we're asking for someone to read.
Yes, please. Thank you.
No, but I don't think I can.
I'll read it. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah. You know, the above is not even important, but this part, I truly hope you will soon be out of all your trouble. Just one good jump to the higher consciousness where all problems are solved and you will get rid of your difficulties. I never feel that I am forgiving. Love does not forgive, it understands and cures. So I think this could be the crux of what we were discussing, that one never needs to forgive truly, because if one loves, not just your own self, your relatives, but if there is love in you, love does not forgive, it understands and cures. So if we look at how Thai had shared, he could not do anything because he was so angry, but then he learned to deal with his anger so that he could forgive. He could understand why he did what he did, and now he could help if that was a possibility for him. So does not forgive, it understands and cures. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything from anyone? Okay. So yeah, so just
I really love this.
yeah, Juan, you could it got muted in between if you want to just repeat what you said.
Oh, sorry, no, I just love this last reading. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to just, wrap this up, although wrapping is not really needed, but we've been talking about the sinner, the sin. And in most of the things, I'm just looking outside. But if I turn my attention inside, if I am so occupied with the sinners and the sins, I lose my aim, my goal, and what I am there to do. I have limited energy, and may it be used well. So the biggest sin I am doing is not working on myself, not working towards my progress and evolution. So I must recognize, like if I'm so wanting to be a policeman and judge, let me judge myself, that what am I doing? Why am I indulging in this and this and that and that? Mera ho gaya? Am I done? Have I done what I can possibly do to get myself out of it? So these bundles of habits and patterns that we know are not good for us, and yet we keep repeating, keep doing these things in the name of this is my habit, this is how I've always done. We could keep those aside now one by one, because that too, if it's not letting me live, if it's not taking me towards my goals, if I can see such things, that too would be considered sin. And a lot of times, when we get lost into the stories, which we all the time almost are, getting lost in the debates, the storylines, it never helps anyone and myself. I have to step back and take, that stance as the consciousness, as in that article it was being shared. And just because while we are in the mud, it's very problematic, very almost impossible to keep myself clean. I have to come out that yes, maybe in the storylines it appears to be justified, and anger is justified and sin is justified. And yet I'm more than that. And when I step aside, when I stand as that consciousness, that really helps. So dissociating from activities, disentangling from my traumas is something I can do to make my life easy if I'm so much into sinner and sin, because that too is a sin, that entanglement and engagements that I have that don't let me live right. And I think, how Thai said, that spiritual immune system, we all need to develop it. If some impulse is coming, how can I take it? Where do I place it? How do I disentangle it, open it, and see what is where? And how Chetna had said that, how much am I contributing to this sin, to this hatred? If I'm a little more conscious of that, that would give me a lot of purity and power to actually do things, do something about it, rather than what I usually do, feel angry, comment, say, oh my God, where the world is going, and spread more fear and more hatred through me, around me. So moving beyond the sinner and the sin and seeing the clearer goal, the clearer picture, and keep, my self pointed towards the sky. There's a beautiful couplet by Kabir Ji, the first line, it's a song which says, Gagan ki oot ishara hai bhai. Like my vision, my sight is always up. Whatever is happening around me, that's my aim, that something would be coming from here, something would be coming from there. But if my aim, my eyes are always towards the Gagan, the sky, that's what I have to do. Keep pointing towards that. So any last comments, anything? Otherwise we can end. It was a lot to process, and I will share this video of what we saw today if somebody wants to see the complete one to get more clarity. Okay. So just take it. Yeah, yes, one.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so just taking, Jagan, you want to say something? Okay. So just taking the last minute and praying for the grace to be able to move through the clutter, the chaos, the mud, the disputes that I find in myself that often stop me from seeing things for what they are. Let these veils be lifted, these veils of ignorance and dispersions and diversions. And may I be able to see things for what they are. Let me be able to focus on what I am doing, I am spreading. Let me be the love that I feel is becoming less in the world. Let me be the home, the source, the sun of what I feel the world needs. So praying and aspiring for that. So may all hearts be full of joy, contentment, and peace. True joy, true contentment, and true peace. This I pray and I aspire. Thanking Grace for this session and for the light that comes to us through them. Thank you so much.